to introduce Dwight Hudson, who represents the Tea Party of Baton Rouge.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and speak to you today. The Baton Rouge Tea Party is a nonpartisan grassroots organization. We're dedicated to free markets, limited government, and fiscal responsibility. We first got involved in the bond proposal debate because our members felt like their voices weren't being heard in the way that the proposal was being structured. The majority of our members actually support the infrastructure projects. I know a lot of times you hear Tea Party and you think, oh, just another anti-tax group. That's actually not what we're about. And we oppose the Alive project for a number of reasons. We felt the best way to go forward would be to split the bond proposal into separate parts and allow them to stand on their own merits. We feel that it sends a red flag to voters that the mayor wouldn't refuse to split the proposal on the basis that Alive just can't stand on its own merits. Despite what proponents say, there are still many problems with the Alive project. Our main objection stems from the fact that the project is entirely funded through $225 million in public funds. Taxpayers are being asked to pony up the cash for a project they've never seen a budget for or a business plan. I don't believe that a bank would give the money to a private business that had this sort of proposal, and so the taxpayer shouldn't be treated any differently. There's been a lot of talk about the economic projections for Alive, but very little talk about what happens if those projections are wrong. The fact is that if construction costs do go up and the project itself goes over budget, or if the project ends up running at a deficit, there will be an opportunity to roll the millages forward, the property tax millages forward, because there's no specific language in the bond proposal that doesn't allow that to happen. Again, this is another red flag for voters. A viable alternative to using only public funds would be securing private funds for this type of venture and then entering into a public-private partnership where the private actually has a vested interest in the project. A recent example of this was found in the Baton Rouge Business Report in the Tennessee Aquarium. The facility was funded with private funds, and the city improved the infrastructure around the project. Ended up, the project sparked great economic activity in Chattanooga's downtown, and the project has exceeded expectations. The fact that there either was no private investment willing to invest in the Alive project, or that none was simply sought, again, should be another red flag to voters. Another objection to the project comes from the state funding, or lack thereof, that is needed to get the project rolling. The fact that the funding was not secured before the proposal was put on the ballot is troubling for a lot of people. Representative Hunter Green has gone on the record as saying that mitigation funds for the site don't exist right now, and any new project would have to come in the form of a new capital outlay project. He went on to say that he is not optimistic about the project. And so voters are going to have to ask themselves where their priorities are. Should we be increasing state funding for something like Alive, while we're having a projected shortfall next year of $1 billion and $2 billion the following year? Or should, all the while we're cutting things like higher education and healthcare? Still, another problem arises over the land use dispute with the railroad. Proponents will argue that this is simply not a big deal. I would argue that we've now been through 3 governors' administrations, and the problem is still not resolved. It's been a year since last year, and they've known about it since then. It should have been worked out in that time. And it stands to reason that voters, if it's not a big deal, then voters should have been told about it before the proposal was put on the ballot, and the Metro Council should have known about it as well. So now the big question is, where do we go from here? Well, we're in the process of organizing a grassroots campaign to ensure that we can get the necessary votes out on November 14th. The truth is that although our financial resources may not be what the proponents have, we have a lot of dedicated volunteers that are ready to get out there and do different things like sign waving, neighborhood canvassing, and that sort of thing. And since March, we've managed to expand our membership to over 2,000. So we really do have a lot of people that are out there ready to get involved. This will be your classic David versus Goliath story. Anyone opposing this bond should not be under any illusion that it's going to be an easy fight. It will all end up on who gets the turnout on November 14th. I just want to close by saying and reminding everybody that at the end of that David and Goliath story, David wins. So thank you all.